How's it going, guys? Welcome back to Aware and Ahead. I'm your host, Greg Johnson, and today I wanted to talk about something that, well, it sounds really basic at times, or it sounds like something we obviously should do or should already know. It's something that we don't always actually really reflect on, and it's not something that we always take into consideration when we do actually make choices. And for that, today's topic is about values. So I wanted to talk about values again just because of the importance of them and how I find that there is either a lack of understanding about values or there is a lack of wanting to know what one's values are compared to someone else's and how they can differentiate, and that's totally okay. Um, First of all, quick heads up. I don't know what I have. I might be sick with either the flu or with the Rona part 2 or whatever variant. I don't really care, but I'm really tired. My chest hurts a lot, and I have a lot of pressure going on in my chest, so I'm a little bit congested, and I apologize if my voice sounds a little bit weird, but I'm just feeling really tired, but I still wanted to make this video since it's been on my mind for the past couple of days. So, what are values and what's the difference between good values and bad values? Well, I was reading a book called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. I'm about halfway through it, and I think there's some really great and really valuable lessons and teachings about values that I wanted to share with you guys today, and then how I was able to put them into my own word. So, defining good and bad values. Good values are 1, reality-based, 2, socially constructive, and 3, immediate and controllable. So reality-based, meaning that they aren't just part of the figment of one's imagination, or that they don't have any real gripping on it. With something reality-based, there is real evidence for it. There is real practice. There is a reality. So there is something very real and very genuine, you could almost put at the same time, that is based with the value. Socially constructive, that can be teach their own. I mean, for me, socially constructive is where, if you think of constructing, that means of some sort of building, right? So that means more of a building up. So socially constructive could be socially building or socially helping. It's different ways to look at that. And then for number 3, which is immediate and controllable. So something that you're able to take action on immediately, that you're able to recognize, and that it's a variable that you alone can control. So for an instance, my highest value is accountability. That is something that is reality based, where I can always take accountability for my own actions or for anything that happens in my life. It is socially constructive because by me taking on accountability and not pushing it onto others, that then helps society by not needing to carry my burdens when I'm already taking care of them. And I can go further as well. Immediate and controllable, again, accountability is immediate. When you find out something, you take action. Hey, sorry, that's my bad. Let me do X, Y, and Z to help this out. Or, hey, you know what? That was a really big fault of mine. Let me do this to make it up to you, right? It's something that you can then do that's immediate, like taking action or taking the fault of the accountability and then controlling what you're able to do after the fact. So that's kind of a little bit of an example with accountability. And so what's a good value compared to a bad value? Well, a bad value they're superstitious, socially destructive, and 3, not immediate or controllable. So, I mean, superstitious, where it's flaky, it's kind of half-assed, it's not really, it's all superstition. I don't know the exact actual definition of superstition. I'd have to kind of go ahead and double check with that, but hopefully you guys kind of get the idea of it. Socially destructive, that's where instead of socially building up, like we were just talking about, like construction, like socially constructing something, it's destructing something. So what that reminds me of is a quote that I'm paraphrasing here, obviously, by Gary Vee, where he's like, there's 2 ways that you can have the tallest building in your city. The first one is either by building the tallest building above everyone else's, or by having yours being the last one standing. So essentially by destroying all the other buildings. So kind of a great way to look at that in sense with competition as well, right? Like you can either be in the game and be proud of it and try to make your work better than anyone else's around you and have a positive competition or a positive competitive energy to yourself when you're talking about that. Or you can have the opposite of that, which is where then, instead of just having the emotion of like, I'm going to beat you and I'm going to crush you, you do things that purposefully harm and take away and demonize a company or a competitor of any type. If you're in sports, maybe it's something that's like purposely saying rude or negative comments about them and their personal life or something like that, right? So it can be destructive, can be in a very different way. And then not immediate or controllable. So it isn't something that's in your ability to be able to control. Kind of like if you don't take accountability for oneself, if you don't do that, then you're putting the blame onto other people. You're putting the excuse, you're putting all these other things onto something else, which in turn actually loses your power. You're giving your power to someone else, which then they get to make the decision from that, which a lot of people don't realize and we get really frustrated and upset about. But we have to understand that when we do that, when we put ourselves off, when we put that onto someone else to take care of, and if they're willing to take on the responsibility of that, even if it wasn't supposed to be given to them, they now have the power and control to do however or whatever they may feel that is best in that situation. So something to think about. Great example of this as well. Honesty is a good value because it's something you have complete control over. It reflects reality and it benefits others, even if it's sometimes unpleasant. Popularity, on the other hand, is a bad value. If that's your value and if your metric is being the most popular guy/girl at the dance party, much of what happens will be out of your control. So, with values as well, it's not about what just makes you feel good. It's about what you really believe is reality based in truth. So again, with honesty, it's not fun to be honest sometimes, or with accountability, it's not fun to take accountability for everything. But the more you do that, the more you gain your power back, and the more that you're able to realize how much then by having your power back that you can actually then move forward without needing anyone else, without needing anyone else's judgment, criticisms, help, welfare, money, that type of thing. I don't know if welfare is the right way to use it, but either way, money, like that type of stuff, right? Like you are able to then be like, okay, I accept all of this. Now I get to move myself forward because I'm not waiting for anyone else. I'm not waiting for any other circumstance. I'm not waiting for anything else. I'm not waiting for no one else because I have the power to do that. A really great part of this as well is it says that values are about prioritization. Cool car. What are the values that you prioritize above everything else, and that therefore influence your decision making more than anything else? So values, again, being about prioritization, it's what do you prioritize? What do you prioritize in a relationship? What do you prioritize? And really quickly with relationships, that can be social, that can be emotional, that can be personal, that can be like relationships is such a huge thing. But how do you prioritize things? What are you prioritizing? Are you prioritizing pleasure over pain, experience, and learning? Are you prioritizing happiness over, I don't know, I can't think of something for that, but it's about prioritization. So prioritizing is like putting something first, where if you had, say, you had two tasks, all right? You had to, I don't know, mow your lawn, and then you had to clean your bathroom. Like, which one do you prioritize? And I think that personally would depend on I think that would really depend on what your priority is, as that could be with gender. Like, say for a guy, it might be where mowing the lawn is more important because that is what your kids play on, that's what you are focusing more on, that's where you're around your gardening and stuff. When someone else, or like someone who is taking care of the home, like a wife, might say that cleaning the bathroom is more important because you use the bathroom every day, you're always in the bathroom, or not always in the bathroom, but it's somewhere you're in a lot, maybe, like if you're using the restroom a lot, or that's something that you use more daily than maybe you use the lawn. but that depends on the prioritization of each and every individual. So that's something to think about as well. I went ahead and wrote down some of my own right here. So a couple that I wrote down are, with each of these as well, I gave little explanations to them. I might read some of them. So like for respect, honesty, truth, manners, humility, charity, patience, perseverance, self-discipline, grit, and confidence. For some of these, I looked at the actual definition, and some of them I put my own personal definition in with them because they can be a little bit more personalized, right? So for instance, one that might be a little bit interesting to people is manners. I have learned from seeing a lot of different people and from being in a lot of different situations, those who have basic manners, or specifically with men, basic chivalry, while it's not as appreciated or respected by everyone nowadays, it is something that is still very much needed, because those who do understand and those who do appreciate that typically are a higher value person, and they understand the significance and the importance of these small little things that build up to bigger things as well, right? Like, someone might not think of it, but pulling out the table for a woman, opening the door for a girl, or just saying please and thank you, like these small little things where they also don't have to evolve around just an individual. It's just out of the politeness and out of the simple respect of being a human and sharing that respect with other people. I find that very, very valuable, because I don't believe that people are really going to put that in. And that might not sound like a really big thing, but for me, I believe that it can make the difference, especially in a business. If you show your manners and if you show your kindness and your basic level of respect to them, they're going to remember and appreciate you more than someone who doesn't do that, and to someone who actually does the complete opposite and makes themselves a jerk and purposely doesn't say thank you and purposely wants to make a show or does all those types of things. So just think about it in those types of perspectives. Like, so for me, my prioritization in the manners part is that I prioritize kindness and genuine respect for people over the opposite of that. But someone else might have that flipped, and that's for them to decide. That's not for me to decide, but I personally would think you're a piece of crap. Just saying out there. But another one of them I'd have to say is we can look at perseverance. So perseverance, the definition I wrote down for that is steadfastness in doing something despite difficulty or delay in achieving success. So from someone who was very much a goofy goblin brain, you might say, I was just watching a video from what's his name, something Jakey, about The Last of Us Part 2 and everything. So anyways, if you're an old video game fan and if you liked The Last of Us or Last of Us Part 2, let me know down in the comments. But I was watching his video, and the reason I bring that up is because the goofy goblin brainy thing is like the hyper active, the hyper, like, needing the dopamine. It's so dependent on dopamine, right? Our society has become so much like that. That's why social media is how it's designed. That's why TikTok is how it is. That's why all these sorts of little different things are created purposely to keep us engaged. And where we have I think it's like the random slot machine encounter or something that it's called, where like you might not understand why you're mindlessly scrolling, right? That's a term that's being used a lot now. When the reason for that being is that we know that we're going to get some type of reward at some point if we keep scrolling. We don't know when that's going to come, and the randomization of that keeps us scrolling. So something kind of again with that, so going back to the perseverance of it though, is where it's the steadfastness in doing something despite difficulty or delay in achieving success. So you can either think of that success as in, like, I think of real success, but you could even put like stimulation in a sense, right? Where it's being disciplined, or it's another level of discipline, or doing the hard work, or consistency. I think those two, or those three, so like perseverance, discipline, and consistency, while they are all very different, they all encompass the same idea of the working hard and the grit mindset. So yeah, that's just kind of a couple of them. I just wanted to be able to bring that up today. I didn't want this video to be too long. Sorry if it is a little bit longer than expected, but I do appreciate you all listening, and I hope that we can be able to, take the time to either today or through the weekend, like really sit down with yourself and really think, what am I doing, and are they in line with my values? I think that's a really important question to ask ourselves, because many of us aren't asking what our values are, which then means that we don't understand, like, values are a foundational piece to building our frame as individuals and as people, which then determine who we accept and who we reject in our lives. And that is a necessary thing to be able to accept people and to be able to reject people. There's the yin and yang of it, almost like there's the two sides to the same coin. So really think about it. Really, if you believe, if you're like, oh yeah, Greg, I already know what my values are and stuff, then okay, cool. I challenge you to write them down. Write them down. Give definitions to them. Actually give yourself time, like I did here. Like, while they aren't huge things, and while these aren't all of my values, it's a base that I can then build the rest of my foundation upon. And that's part of wanting to be aware and being ahead, is where you need to have the awareness of, like, okay, what are my values? So then you can use that to build a foundation, to build a base, so then you can actually be ahead and be further in life than what you might not be if you don't have those values. So something to consider, and hope you guys all have a great day. And one final thing, don't be an airhead, be aware and head. Thanks, guys.